Al, thank you very much. You know, some families have chosen to stay away from Ground Zero and the ceremony here, but many are gathering for the commemoration. Tom Roger's daughter Jean was a flight attendant on American Airlines Flight 11, the first plane to hit the towers. He is Vice President of Families of September 11th. Christy Ferrer's husband, Neil Levin, was the Executive Director of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Neil died at the World Trade Center. Christy serves as Mayor Bloomberg's liaison with the families of those killed. Tom and Christy, good morning. I'm so happy to see you all here. I know it's a really difficult day, but we really appreciate you joining us. You all are here sort of really in an official capacity because you're not only grieving the loss of your loved ones, but you've really helped so many other families as well. Yet on a personal level, I'm sure you're thinking of your daughter today.
Absolutely, Katie. It's an emotional time, for us. Our whole family is here today, and as last year, has been a very difficult time for everyone. Certainly the remorse and the recovery effort, and all the efforts of the country to try to put things right. We're hoping, at least for some of us, that today can mark a new beginning in this whole process.
Tell me a little about your daughter, Jeannie. So young, so vibrant, so much of her life ahead of her.
Yes, my daughter was, my only daughter, was a wonderful young woman, very attractive. You can see the picture of she and I. That was actually before a Millennium Party a few years ago, and we had a terrific time, and she was not supposed to be on that plane, but we understand she got on that plane with a smile on her face.
Christy, Neil was such an outstanding person. Tell me what you would like people to know about your husband, Neil Levin.
He was an uncompromisingly honest person, a dedicated public servant, and he took time for people. He took time. I mean, you know that, Katie. You knew him. He took time. He took time to pat, a doorman, a driver, shake their hand. He's just, an extremely magnanimous individual.
As I mentioned, Christy, anniversaries are very tough. They really do reopen the wounds of loss and grief. Are you dreading this day, or what are you hoping to get out of this day?
I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think there's a large number of us that can't wait for this day to be over. As Janis Joplin said in some bastardized form of it, tomorrow is the first day of her life. It's a new life tomorrow. I mean, I think after 1 year, we really have to begin the healing process. And it's kind of up to the victims' families, who have a lot of moral authority in what's going on here, to say to the nation, okay, let's heal and let's heal together.
You've been communicating with so many of the victims' families. I've heard such incredibly complimentary things about both of you and how helpful you've been and how heroic you've been and sort of being selfless and helping them. But what is the biggest concern and the biggest issue facing these families, Christy?
Staying together in terms of trying to cooperate with the rest of the stakeholders and what's going to go on down here. How many acres are going to be devoted to the memorial? It's not quantity, it's quality. And trying to come together in something that is going to memorialize our loved ones, but at the same time allow this to be a neighborhood. That's the task that's before us, to listen to the other stakeholders and at the same time satisfy our needs.
But how do you do that with 2,801 victims taken here at the World Trade Center and on those planes? How can you possibly please everyone? And what are your thoughts of what ultimately you would like to see here, Tom?
Well, I personally accept the fact that there needs to be a mixed-use development here, but the memorial should be the most important part of the process, and that anything that goes here really needs to speak to the memorial. So when you're on this site, the 16 acres, you know that you are within the World Trade Center memorial site, whether it's next year or 100 years from now.
Rudy Giuliani wants the whole 16-acre site to be just a memorial. Do you understand, or do you recognize, or do you accept, Christy, the need to have some kind of commercial area, or do you agree with the former mayor?
You know, it's difficult to say, but in my heart, my background is city planning, and I understand the need for mixed use. And I think it may be unrealistic for the plans that Mayor Bloomberg has for Lower Manhattan to think of this entire area as a 16-acre park. And I do believe there has to be some mixed use. I don't know whether it's commercial, it could be housing, it could be some business, it could be some respectable use of commercial, it could be a museum dedicated to the memorial.
And very quickly, I know one of the bones of contention in the aftermath of this has been the Victims' Compensation Fund, the feeling that it's arbitrary and unfair. Are you all confident that those issues are being settled vis-a-vis how much money is being allocated to each family?
It seems to be working itself out. You know, certainly most of the families seem to be standing back and watching the process work, and Mr. Feinberg is certainly speaking everywhere he can about the advantages of the process. And I'm optimistic that that will probably end up being the best situation for the families.
Also, I just have to say one thing about that. Most of these families haven't even focused on money unless they're in dire need, and they've turned to 9/11 United Services, which has done an enormously fabulous job of helping these families out. A lot of these families haven't even thought about what they're going to do about compensating for their loss of income. I mean, it's just big now. A lot of them aren't focused on it.
Christy Ferrer and Tom Roger, thank you both so much. You know, we'll spend the day thinking of people like your husband Neil and your daughter Jeannie. I know what a tough day this is going to be, but we'll be thinking about you too as well.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Now back to Matt.